Hey guys, it's Michelle.
I'm Brandy.
And this is Spooky Shit and Tales from the Beyond. So this week we are talking about killers from the late 1800s specifically for some reason. That was just a happy coincidence. But from the 1800s, I'm going to be talking about H.H. Holmes.
And then I'm going to talk about Lizzie Halliday.
Alrighty.
I hope I'm... Holiday?
Holiday?
I don't think it's Holiday.
It could be Holiday.
It could be, actually. You're right.
And this is when I hate myself editing, because I'm like, let me really put some thought into this last night. And then later I'm going to be like, God damn, delete all this shit. Anyway, so like I said, this week I'm going to be talking about H.H. Holmes. My story gets a little violent at parts, but not too much detail, so less of a warning than our usual fucking stories. At least on my part. So, a little bit of petty backstory here. Leah was telling us how she wanted to talk about H.H. Holmes a couple weeks before she left the show. So when Brandy was talking about, like, topics, we were saying, like, maybe serial killers or people from the 1800s. I was like, okay, I'm going to swipe H.H. Holmes from Leah for abandoning us. Also, he's creepy as fuck, but, like, honestly, mostly the petty thing. Leah, if you're listening to this, fuck you.
Damn.
I'm sorry, that was funny, though.
I miss you, Leah.
Okay, you sound desperate.
Damn, that's rude. I'm married.
Desperate for friendship, which is more sad.
Yeah, I am, though.
Oh, that's... Randy, it's so depressing. So, therapy this week. Starting off early. Anyway. H.H. Holmes, whose real name was Herman Webster Mudgett. Literally no fucking reason. Like, I don't need to know a reason why he changed his name, because his name is Herman Webster Mudgett. That's not a good name, dude. It's real bad. But he was born in 1861 in New Hampshire. He was the middle child. He had one older sister, and one older brother, and one younger brother, and one younger sister, which made it really annoying for me to type that out because I had to keep typing brother and sister over and over again. So there's been some speculation that as a child he was abused by his father and he would torture animals, but there's no proof of this, and I think it definitely could just be people are trying to be like, oh my god, there was signs that he'd be a serial killer. May or may not be true. There's one legend that says he was bullied by other kids for hating going to the doctor, so these kids try to fuck with him by showing him a real skeleton and trying to get him to touch it. I don't know where the skeleton was, like at a school or some shit. But instead of scaring him, this, like, really fucking backfired and started his lifelong obsession with death.
Okay.
So, if this story is true, these kids are basically all murderers too, because it's their fault. Logically. So, Holmes was charming and pretty smart. He graduated high school at just 16. By the age of 19, he was married to a woman named Clara, and they had a son named Robert, born in 1880. Robert. He was violent with his wife, and by 1884, she had moved back home to New Hampshire with their child. I say back home to New Hampshire because while this was, like, happening, this violent marriage, he went on to go to the University of Michigan and graduate from the Department of Medicine and Surgery. While he was there, he also worked in the anatomy lab.
So he a doctor.
Yeah, so he a doctor. And I guess the doctors back then only had to go to school for, like, 3 years or some shit.
That's nice.
Yeah. Probably not the safest thing, but yeah. So he also apprenticed in New Hampshire under an advocate for human dissection, which I didn't look it up. I'm just gonna add this as like a little afterthought. I wonder, like, was there people against dissecting people after they died? Probably for religious reasons in the 1800s to be like, you cannot touch the bodies.
There's always people that are against whatever you do.
Yeah, especially people against science, I guess.
True. Or like. Someone told me this today, and I died because it's so, like, accurate. Okay. He said opinions are like assholes. Everybody
Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's true. Everyone has one.
I'm sorry for the butthole talk over here.
Everyone always wants to put their 2 cents in, you know?
Yeah. Anyway. Later on, Holmes revealed that while working, like, in these 2 places, he had used mutilated cadavers to commit insurance fraud.
How?
He would get the bodies and, like, just, like, fuck with them, like, burn them or, like, make it so they're unrecognizable and take out, like, a claim on this made-up person and then he would stage it to look like they died in an accident and collect insurance. And they're
wow.
Robert's playing a video game in the background. He's not in shock about this insurance fraud story. He's not listening at all. I'm just talking about insurance fraud, and Robert's like, oh my god.
It's crazy, the insurance fraud. It's just like, whoa.
Also, the fact that you could get away with so much insurance fraud in the 1800s. It's like,
it's probably pretty easy back then, yeah.
Dude, I think everything was easy back then. After graduating, Holmes moved to Moores Forks, New York. The hesitation there was amazing. Moores Forks, New York.
More forks?
Something like that.
More knives?
No, more forks.
More spoons?
No, more forks. Brandy is having issues hearing me today. I'm sorry. But he did not stay here for long after a rumor began to spread that he was one of the last people seen with a little boy who later went missing. He claimed the boy went home to Massachusetts and no investigation took place. While working at a drugstore in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, a boy died after taking medicine that was purchased at the store. He again claimed no involvement and left town. And they were like, okay, as long as you say you weren't involved, we won't follow you. So in 1885, Holmes relocated to Chicago and changed his name to Henry Howard Holmes. I think it was to basically evade all the people who were like looking for him because, like I said, he like did a lot of like insurance fraud and he was low-key just like a con artist and did like a lot of scams and shit.
I mean,
and there was the whole missing kid thing.
Yeah. I think it was just easier to fucking change your name back then.
Dude, yes, what the fuck? He's just in Chicago, he's like, hello. My name is Holmes. And they're like, seems legit. No paperwork, none needed. You're hired.
Basically.
Yeah, and I think even like on his doctor's license or whatever the fuck, like it said his old name. And they were like, okay. Like, that's fine. I don't get it. But whatever. So the next year he was married again, while still technically married to Clara, this time to a woman named Myrta. Just weeks into the marriage, he filed for divorce, claiming that she'd been cheating on him. I'm not sure what exactly happened, but like maybe Myrta didn't receive the divorce papers, but regardless, they remained legally married and still lived together, at least for a few years. In 1889, they even had a daughter that they named Lucy. So I'm thinking maybe he sent the divorce papers to like maybe sue her for money or something, saying like, oh, she cheated on me and it didn't go anywhere, so he was like, it's fine, I'll let it go. So later in life, Holmes said that in 1886 he had killed a former classmate for insurance money, with his same old thing that he always does. But this classmate actually died in 1889 in Canada. It's possible he just named a cadaver after this person, but like, do what you will with this knowledge. He also could just be a fucking liar. While still technically living at home with his wife and daughter in Wilmette, Illinois, Holmes spent most of his time in Chicago working. I looked it up, and it's, like, only a 30-minute drive. So, like, basically, if you're in San Diego living in North County but going downtown. But, also, it was the 1800s. So I don't know if they got around by fucking horses or, like, what they did back then. So I feel like he was probably staying the night in Chicago a lot. I think I'm also going to have these dates kind of all over the place. So, just a heads up, because I'm going to be switching back and forth from his family life and his crime life.
Mm-hmm. Double life?
More like quadruple life because he had so many wives everywhere.
True.
So Holmes began working in Chicago in 1886 at a drugstore and eventually was able to buy the store. There's a rumor that he killed both the owners, but he actually didn't, and they lived well into the 1900s just fine. Holmes purchased an empty lot across the street from the drugstore and began construction in 1887 on what was to be a 2-story building with a basement. The first floor, a new drugstore and other storefronts, and the second, apartments. So Holmes was not only a serial killer, like I said before, he was a scam artist. He got sued by many architects and a steel company for refusing to pay them for their part in the construction of the building. I couldn't find how that turned out, but it doesn't seem like he was too affected by it. It doesn't seem like he was too affected by fucking anything in his life, honestly. I don't know how he got away with all this shit. They literally built him a building, probably for free. I'm sure he didn't pay them.
Asshole.
Yeah, right? So in 1892, a third floor was added to the building with the help of investors that he told he planned on using as a hotel during the upcoming World's Columbian Exposition, which was like a big-ass world fair. I think at the time it happened, like millions of people came to see it, and it was like one of the biggest events in the world or some shit. I don't know. It's just like a normal year at Comic-Con now. So during this time, furniture suppliers accused Holmes of hiding their unpaid materials throughout his building. Like I said, super scam artists. He'd just be like, I don't have your shit. It's just like hidden in the walls. Side note, the hotel never actually got totally finished. So it was never a hotel. I don't really need to call it that, I guess. Now let me describe this building for you because what the fuck? I should start out by letting you know that it's been nicknamed the Murder Castle. It was fucking huge. So I read one article saying it stretched over a block, and I was like, there's no fucking way it stretched over a block. And then another said it was 162 feet long and 50 feet wide. So I was like, all right, what's the square footage of that? And I multiplied them, and I think that's how you get the square footage. I don't know. But I got 8,100 feet. This is 10 of my apartments, Brandy, for reference.
Shit.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
So I have like a hard time picturing in my head. But I was just imagining 10 floors for this, and I was like, all right, decently big. So yeah, it was a big boy house. Like I said, it just started as the two main stories in a basement. The first one, just the storefront. Second, the apartments. But the second was also a big-ass maze inside. According to one website, it had 51 doors and 35 rooms. So many doors for some reason. I think one room had like 5 to 8 doors in it.
What the fuck?
It was weird. So some of these rooms were seemingly normal and were able to be rented, but there were a lot of soundproof rooms and tons of hallways, some of which appeared to lead nowhere. And there was like doors that you could open up and it would just be like a wall. So like think of Winchester Mystery House from, I think it was last week, but a million times scarier. It'd be like if Mary Winchester like wanted to kill. It's very similar vibes. So there were rooms with secret passageways connecting them. Ones with hinged walls, which, like, you could kind of open up the fucking walls. I don't really know how that worked. But it sounded like it'd be sketchy if you're in it and don't want to be seen by anyone. There was even some rooms that were totally airtight with pipelines in them. These rooms, people believe Holmes used as gas chambers.
What?
Isn't that fucking scary?
That's wild.
So there were plenty of trapdoors too, of course. And quite a lot of the rooms you could see a chute, like for laundry, that he would use to dispose of his victims' bodies and send them to the basement.
Oh.
That's so fucking weird.
Yeah.
And also the fact that all this was there and seemingly he would still rent it out to some people. And I'm like, you didn't notice anything? I mean, I guess if I know something, I'd just be like, I'd like to not to rent here anymore and be on my way.
Like to check out.
I would like to check out, please. So, yeah, it's fucking crazy. I was looking at someone's drawing that they made the second floor with labels. And they're just like normal stuff like waiting room, reception room, then suddenly bathroom with hidden stairs to basement, and this hanging secret chamber.
What the fuck?
What the fuck, dude? I think that the bathroom thing, like, might have been his. I read one thing that they were like, he would use it to sneak down to the basement to do stuff that I'm gonna get to in a second. The basement was a whole nother thing. So the same article, I saw this drawing. They said that Holmes had an alarm system set up, so when someone stepped into the hallway or walked downstairs, a buzzer would go off in his room. Just like low-key impressive for the 1800s to have your own alarm system.
That is pretty cool.
I don't know how did you just have like a bunch of little tripwires everywhere?
Maybe.
So in the basement, there were surgical tables and tools, large containers of acid, quicklime, and his very own crematorium. So reportedly, after sending bodies into the basement, he would go down and dissect his victims before selling bones and organs to the black market, or using his connections from medical school to sell them back to medical labs and schools. Whatever he was left over with, he would dispose it by breaking them down in lime or acid. The third floor just held what I'm pretty sure was regular old rooms for rent and included an office and a huge vault. I did read one thing saying that the vault also could have been used, like, potentially as a gas chamber because it was airtight. So there are critics, I should say, who think that the airtight room with the gas lines could have just been like, oh, people had to use gas to like light candles and stuff back then. Think that's being sensationalized, but
No.
I don't know. This guy's creepy. I could definitely see him doing like homemade gas chambers personally. So later when police were investigating the home, they supposedly found human bones in a pile of soup bones, which I'm assuming was just used to make like bone broth. They literally just refer to as soup bones. But yeah, probably to disguise them from being like seen as actual people. Some of the bones are really small and suspected of belonging to a child. They also reportedly found a woman's blood-soaked clothes and in the ashes of the crematorium a small gold chain that appeared to be from a woman's shoe.
They had chains on their shoes?
I was imagining like pilgrim shit. Like black fancy shoes with a little gold chain.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
What were you imagining?
I don't know.
So, while in Chicago, Holmes became friends with a man named Benjamin Pitzel. He was a carpenter who also had a criminal history. Benjamin essentially became Holmes' right man hand. Close.
Yep.
He became his right hand man during some of his cons and was described later by a district attorney as, quote, Holmes' tool, his creature. Stupid ass description, honestly. So, thought to be one of Holmes' early victims was Julia Smith. I say it like that because it's actually unknown how many people he killed or when he started, which I'll get to later. But she was probably one of the first. So she, along with her husband Ned and daughter Pearl, had moved into the building and Ned worked at the drugstore's jewelry counter. Holmes and Julia began an affair, and when Ned found out, he quit his job and left the family. Julia remained with her daughter in the murder castle, and they were last seen on Christmas Eve in 1891. Later on, Holmes said that Julia had died while getting an abortion, but who knows if that is the truth, and even if it were, what happened to Pearl? I saw one person speculating that maybe the children's bones that were found in the soup bone pile could have belonged to Pearl. I couldn't find out exactly how old she was, though. In 1892, a woman named Emmeline Segrand, she began to work in the building, and by December, she too had disappeared. It's thought by some that she may have also been sleeping with Holmes. That same year, another woman named Edna Van Tassel also went missing, and many believe her to be another victim of Holmes. In 1893, Holmes hired on Minnie Williams to be his personal stenographer. Stenographers, just like, they write notes. And they write it short, and I look at it, and I cannot read it, and I don't understand it. But whatever. So, while working there, she was convinced by Holmes to transfer the deed of her property in Texas over to somebody named Alexander Bond, which was one of his aliases. Holmes later transferred this deed over to Benton T. Lyman, who was actually his friend Benjamin from before. Also, kind of like what you said before earlier, how fucking easy was it to just lie about your name and be like, yeah, send it to this dude whose name I just made up. And the banks were like, got it, dude. For sure.
I feel like it's because it was just papers.
Yeah, you could just fake anything.
You didn't have no picture ID or nothing.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Just like draw it? So I'm assuming that Holmes and Minnie were in a relationship because in May of 1893, they went on to pretend to be married in order to rent an apartment together in Chicago. In July of that year, Minnie's sister Annie came to visit, and while there, she wrote to her aunt that she was planning on going with somebody named Brother Harry to Europe. Minnie and Annie were both last seen alive on July 5th, 1893. It's thought that Holmes' MO was to place an ad for employees, hire women, give them life insurance, sometimes begin affairs with them, and then kill them. This can't be confirmed, but a lot of signs point to it, because I guess he would get life insurance for all of his employees.
It's scary.
I was thinking that too, but you have life insurance.
That's true.
At your job, whose name I won't say. So, also a side note, Robert, whenever we were working there, he didn't want to make a beneficiary for his life insurance, so he put his own name. And I was like, what would happen? I don't understand. Just put like your sister or something. And me, Leah, and our other sister who worked there, we all put our older sister's name. And we were like, she could probably just like kill us all and like get a bunch of fucking money.
She'll be set.
Yeah, so good thing I got let go. Early in January 1894, Holmes married again to a woman named Georgiana, while still legally married to the other two women from before. So I'm not sure how or when exactly him and Myrtle ended things, but I guess that happened at some point. So even though he was like married to all of them at the same time, it wasn't like a sister-wife situation. He would only
know about each other.
Yeah. They didn't know about each other, and I don't think he would visit the ex-wives anymore. Well, not ex, the other wives. He'd still take on mistresses, though. So, I don't know where his morals here. They're just kind of all over the place. But actually, that's a much fairer way to say it. So by that July, insurance companies were starting to get suspicious of Holmes because of the frequency of his claims, especially after there was a small fire in his building, which he started. They began to check out his files and wanted to prosecute him for fraud, but before they could, he pieced out and moved to Fort Worth, Texas, to the property that he had tricked many into giving him the deed for. He planned to build another similar building to his murder castle here, but I don't think much progress was made on it, if any. But he was able to con more suppliers, of course, as is his thing. It was around this time that Holmes finally went to jail for the first time, but only briefly, and for selling furniture he hadn't himself paid for in St. Louis, Missouri. So, like, quite a jump there. He was in Texas and now suddenly in Missouri and arrested. I don't know, man. While he was in jail, though, he talked to a man named Marion Hedgepeth. Marion? I don't know. But this dude was an outlaw serving 25 years. Marion told him about the plan he had where he would take out a $10,000 life insurance plan on himself and then fake his death and collect the money. By the way, guess how much $10,000 is worth now?
No idea.
Well, that's a shitty guess. It's worth $300,000.
Damn.
I was like, guess. You're like, I don't know.
I don't know.
I definitely wouldn't have guessed 300,000 though.
Me either.
Holy shit, dude. So, yeah, he also promised $500 to Marion. M-A-R-I-O-N. How would you pronounce that?
Marion?
Yeah. Okay.
Marion?
Marion. That reminds me of Marion.
Yeah.
And I just think, sea breeze. And then that girl, I'll make him do it. What's that song?
Oh my god.
Alright, I want to take shots with somebody.
That's a different one, is it?
I'll cut this out. Don't embarrass me, Brandy. You know what?
Something. Groceries.
Oh, he better eat my booty like groceries.
Yeah.
This is why you guys are here, right? To just listen to us try to remember song names.
It's gonna bug me on my Google.
Okay, please do. I'll keep talking when I Google it. So, yeah, he promised $500 to Marion if he told him the name of a good lawyer to get in on the scam. And he was pointed in the directions of a St. Louis attorney, Jeff DeHowe, who was super down for this insurance fraud idea. Unfortunately, they tried it out and Holmes was unable to get the money because the life insurance company was suspicious of him.
Supposed to be.
Fuck, I knew it. I didn't know it. But it's Omarion and Chris Brown are in it too, right?
Yeah, and Jenny Aiko?
Aiko?
Aiko? I don't know how to say
A-I-K-O?
Yeah.
Aiko. Cool. I didn't know who that person was. Alright. Anyway, instead of giving up, Holmes decided to try this scheme again with his good old friend Benjamin's help. With a similar plan in mind, Benjamin was to fake his own death, and his wife Carrie would then go and cash out the policy and split it amongst the couple, Holmes, and Jeff the lawyer. So the idea this time was to have Benjamin pretend to be an inventor named B.F. Perry in Philadelphia, who was killed and mutilated beyond recognition in a lab explosion. Holmes was tasked with finding a body to use, so naturally, he decided to just kill his close friend Benjamin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I read that and I was shook. Because, like, they described him, like, earlier as being, like, close friends with him and stuff. And I was like, oh, and he just killed him, no problem. So, it's unknown whether Benjamin was killed before he was set on fire or if that's how he died.
Fuck.
But I'm hoping for before, or at least knocked out, because that's brutal.
Yeah.
I read on one site that said, like, he specifically lit his face on fire to, like, make him unrecognizable.
God.
So, really hoping your dude was knocked out, because I don't think I'd want that to happen to me personally.
That's a horrible way.
Yes, I agree. So this time Holmes was able to get the payout. He went on to visit Benjamin's unsuspecting widow, who believed her husband was hiding out in London, and was somehow able to manipulate this woman into giving him custody of 3 of her 5 children.
What the fuck?
I don't understand. Like, I don't know, maybe he was like, we need to, like, be really careful, like, on our way to go get Benjamin, so give me 3 of your kids and I'll send them elsewhere. But it's just fucking weird. Because she didn't know Benjamin was dead. She just thought he was hiding out. So, along with the children, Alice, Nellie, and Howard, who I believe were between the ages of, like, 8 and 14 or something like that. It was hard to find exact ages of 3 children from the 1890s. But, yeah. Holmes traveled throughout the northern U.S. and into Canada. So while traveling with the kids, he was also having their mother travel around on a separate but parallel route and lying to her about her husband being alive and where her children really were. He told her that he was taking them all to see Benjamin, but they had to be careful getting there, and lied to her that the children were staying with some other people who were keeping them safe. I think at once he told them that they were like with like a rich widow somewhere, and then he also told her that they were in London hiding out. But he was just with them the entire time, and at one point they were just like blocks away from each other, and they had no idea.
What?
And I don't know how he treated the children whenever he was with them, but I assume not great, because he's not a great person. So, along with the children and their mom, Holmes was also moving around his third wife, Georgiana. And she was completely oblivious that any of this was going on, so I have no idea what he was even telling her. He was just getting, like, restless, and he's like, let's go on a trip.
That's wild.
I know, right? And why he was moving all three of these groups, like, in the same area, I have no fucking idea. He just moved around a lot. But that just seems exhausting, just switching from, like, house to house, being like, oh, yes, let me visit all of you, and none of you know that you're here. I don't know. On November 17th, 1894, Holmes was arrested back in Philadelphia when it appeared that him and his wife were preparing to flee the country. He had a warrant out for insurance fraud, but they didn't have enough evidence to hold Holmes, so instead they arrested him for horse theft, a crime which he committed back in Texas. Holmes so graciously volunteered to be extradited for the Philly fraud charge, as I guess Texas was, like, notoriously harsh on horse thieves back in the day. Like, I think he was, like, a death sentence for stealing fucking horses.
Damn.
I don't know. That seems like some Texas shit, though. I think that's still a law. So Holmes and Carey were both ordered to be on trial for their parts in the fraud. Fun fact, the reason he was being looked at for insurance fraud in the first place was because that guy Marion Hedgepeth, who had the original idea for this scheme, basically told on Holmes after he didn't receive any of the money from it, and he was later pardoned for his crimes. So if he didn't, like, snitch on him, a lot more people might have died. So good for you, Marion.
That's just Marion.
Good for you, Marion. As soon as I said two in my head, I was like, sea breeze. God damn it. So, in 1865, a detective named Frank Geyer. I'm gonna go with Geyer. So, Frank Geyer here was tasked to investigate Holmes' previous movements and find the three missing kids. While investigating, he was led to a house that Holmes had previously rented in Toronto, Canada. In the cellar of the home were the buried bodies of Alice and Nellie. Frank, yeah, it's fucked up. So Frank said, quote, "The deeper we dug, the more horrible the odor became. And when we reached the depth of 3 feet, we discovered what appeared to be the bone of the forearm of a human being." Holmes later admitted to forcing the girls into a large trunk that he then locked before drilling a hole in the lid, in which he put a tube connected to a gas line. The girls asphyxiated, and he buried their nude bodies in the cellar of the home. By now, it's fucking dark. And I think that they were, like, maybe, like, 11 and 14, if I'm remembering correctly. They were, like, really small. So, yeah, by now it's pretty fucking clear that this case was about a lot more than insurance fraud, and that Holmes almost definitely had a part in Benjamin's death as well. So, Frank was also led to Indianapolis, where Holmes had rented a cottage. It was reported that it was there Holmes had been seen going to a drugstore to purchase drugs, which were used to kill Howard, the little boy, along with a repair shop he had gone to sharpen knives, later used to chop up the boy's body before burning it. I couldn't find exactly how he died. I mean, I'm just assuming it was like drugs or poison because of that part. But some of Howard's remains were found in the cottage's chimney. At some point, Frank also found letters written by the children every day to their mother, which Holmes never sent and for whatever reason decided to keep. So every day he told them, like, oh, write something and I'll send it to your mom. And just kept it and didn't do shit. So I'm not sure, like, when exactly he found this. I couldn't tell if it was before he found the bodies, during that time, or after. So this could have potentially, like, aided him in his search. Because I think one of the letters said, like, oh, we're in blah, 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 and Howard isn't with us anymore. Like, maybe he already killed Howard, or maybe he was keeping him separate. But yeah. It's worth noting that supposedly when they found these letters, there was no other evidence of murders taking place in the home, although the weird-ass layout and acid quicklime in the basement was true. So that's kind of what I was saying before, like, some parts might have been sensationalized, but it was confusing. Like, whenever we do cases more than 1 year old, it is so hard to find anything online. Especially like 130 years old. Like, fuck, man. No idea. Which sounds super reassuring to everyone listening, believing me. So, Holmes was charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 6 counts of attempted murder. He fired his lawyers and decided to represent himself on trial, but was ultimately found guilty and sentenced to death. I also saw differing articles saying whether he was found guilty of all 4 of these murders or just the one of Benjamin, but I guess it doesn't totally matter because your boy was sentenced to death. Mm-hmm. I read one thing, too, that I didn't double-check if it's true, but if it is, it's interesting. That said he was the first killer to represent himself on trial.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I think, like, Ted Bundy went on to do that, right?
Yeah, I think so.
It's always those motherfuckers.
The cocky motherfuckers.
Yes, and I think Charles Manson did as well. That sounds familiar.
Remember?
I don't know. He was a Nazi bitch. Anyway, so while in prison, Holmes was paid the equivalent today of $230,000 by the Hearst newspaper for a confession. Back then it was like $10K or some shit. I'm like, oh god, inflation's insane. So I wasn't able to find a full transcript of the confession to read, but other articles say that it was basically shit and full of contradicting statements. He would go back and forth saying he was innocent, he was possessed by Satan, and then he'd be like, actually, I murdered 27 people. Some of the people he confessed to murdering, though, actually weren't even fucking dead. So I don't know what that means. Same like the ex-classmate I talked about before. It's like, you clearly didn't kill him. Why are you saying this?
What if he did kill them, but he, like, gave their identities to someone else?
God, the 1800s were a wild time. Like, I feel like it'd be hella easy.
Like, he gave them, you know, like, gave people papers, like,
True.
Like a fake ID.
Yeah, like, he did sell body parts in the black market.
Yeah.
No reason he couldn't sell paperwork, too. It's a good point, Brandy. Thank you. Yeah. So, potentially he killed all these people. Also in the confession, Holmes talked about how drastically his appearance was changing, and he described his new appearance as, quote, gruesome and taking a satanical cast, believing he was starting to look like Satan. So fucking dramatic, dude. He probably just lost weight because he was, like, stressed, and he's like, I am the devil. He's also quoted as saying, I was born with the devil in me. I could not help the fact that I was a murderer, no more than a poet can help the inspiration to sing.
Whoa.
So fucking dramatic. Holmes was executed on May 7th, 1896, at the age of 34 by hanging. I paused for a second because I was like, 1896? He was killed 100 years and 100 years minus 6 days after I was born. And I just wanted to share that with everybody. My birthday's May 1st. So he didn't appear to be nervous beforehand, but he did insist to his lawyer that his coffin was surrounded by cement and buried 10 feet deep because he was scared grave robbers would dig up his body and dissect it. Which was pretty fucking rich coming from a dude who would dissect his own victims, but whatever. I think that they actually did do that too. I was like, oh, I would have fucking put his body out and be like, who wants it?
He's dead already.
Yeah. So he again claimed before his death that he was innocent and said the only deaths at his hands were the result of criminal operations, which back in the day meant performing abortions. So he did kind of say that he would like perform abortions on the down low. And that person that I mentioned before, who I said she died during a botched abortion, but he didn't explain her daughter, she could have actually died during an abortion, but he definitely fucking killed her daughter. So I don't know. When he was hung, his neck didn't break like it was supposed to, so he actually slowly strangled for over 15 minutes until he finally died.
Damn.
Isn't that fucked? Holy shit.
But, like...
I mean, I don't feel that bad for him. But I also would not want to be one of the witnesses to this being like, oh
crazy.
God. Just like, ugh. I was reading and it was like describing like him twitching and I was just like, bleh, gross. So while he was only charged with a few murders, it's actually estimated by some that the number could be even around like 200. And it's generally accepted by everyone that he was guilty of at least 9. It's quite a big fucking jump. Maybe 200, maybe 9. There's also people who think he could have been Jack the Ripper, who I'm sure we're going to talk about sometime because he's pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that they're really related at all. So Jack the Ripper was much more, like, public with his killings. Like, I think he killed maybe one or a few victims at home, but, like, a lot of people, he'd, like, kill them in the streets, right? Or, like, leave their bodies in the streets. And Holmes did everything in the privacy of his own home. So, hey, his own homes. Alright, guys, thanks for listening. We're done here. I think I just peaked. There's also no evidence that Holmes ever lived in England, but it's true that there isn't much of a record of his going-ons around the time that Ripper was killing. Because I don't know if you noticed, but there was kind of a jump from, like, 1989 to 1981, or 91 or 93-ish. So many years, man. I don't know. Some years I don't know what he was doing. But I personally don't think that the two are related. I think they're both just fucked up in their own special ways. In August of 1895, two men were seen going into the back of the murder castle, then running away about a half hour later before there were several explosions and the building was on fire. While the building itself survived the fire, the inside got, like, super fucked up. I saw many things referring to it as gutted. I don't like that word because I always think of, like, Scream. I don't know.
Well, okay.
I did a hand motion to be like...
She stabbed me in the stomach.
No, I'm holding up to the air. You're not here. But you know I'm aiming for a stomach because that's gutted. Just not yours. It's fine. So the building was torn down in 1938, and now it's a branch for the USPS. What? Kind of disturbing. So Marion Hedgepeth, the outlaw who told the police of Holmes' insurance fraud, he was killed in 1909 during a botched robbery. So he still continued his little life of crime. Patrick Quinlan, who was a former caretaker for the murder castle, killed himself in 1914. Many believe he was tormented by the thoughts of what went on in the building without his knowledge. All his suicide note said was, "I could not sleep." Super depressing. Kind of eerie to read that, just one sentence and that's all. So in 2017, Holmes' body was dug up after allegations were going around saying that he actually escaped his execution and that wasn't his body in the coffin. He was dug up, and his body was way more preserved than expected because of cement surrounding it. But after comparing the teeth records, it was confirmed to be the body of H.H. Holmes, and he has since been reburied. I thought that was, like, kind of interesting, because I was thinking how fucking, like, not funny, but, like, a little funny would it be if they dug it up, and he pulled off another fucking life insurance fraud thing, and it wasn't even his body.
Bro, that'd be wild.
Dude, I would lose my mind. But yes, that is my story. Sorry if I told the sensationalized version of it, but it's more exciting, you guys. And also, it's old as shit. Who cares? Yeah, you guys shouldn't really trust us for historical facts. That sentence just said it all. I swear to God, I researched it for a really long time. I just can't tell what was exaggerated.
True, and I mean, it's just hard to, like, find the actual, like, details of everything.
Yes.
Especially back then, like, mine was hard to find actual specific details.
Dude, yes. Because they're old ass shit.
Yeah. This was before the internet.
Exactly. What did they even do? Oh,
They murdered.
They fucking murdered because they had no internet. I was telling Brandy, it was funny because I was, like, looking at a newspaper article and there was a picture of him. I say picture loosely. And it was, like, photograph of H.H. Holmes after being taken into custody. And it was just a hand-drawn picture. And I was like, oh my God, they didn't even have fucking cameras. I mean, there are real pictures of him, but I was like, it's probably, like, expensive and took forever. That's fucking crazy. I love having cameras and smartphones and internet.
It's nice.
I might be a murderer in the 1800s too. I'm just kidding. I didn't mean that.
You got nothing else to do?
Literally, what else are you gonna do? Anyway, Brandy's turn.
Alright, so now I talk about Lizzie Halliday. Right? You would say Halliday.
I'd say Halliday.
Cool. She was actually dubbed the worst woman on earth.
I thought that was my nickname. But
damn.
That's a bold nickname to call somebody.
Yeah, it is. Well, you'll see why.
Okay.
So her name was actually Eliza Margaret McNally. She was born in... It varies. There's not... Well, I mean, like, different articles said different things. I know the way you said it.
She was born all over the place.
Well, I don't know if it was 1859 or 1864. Because a few different sources said different things.
No, they're honestly close enough. So where you can just choose your favorite number.
I guess. Well, she was born around that time and in Antrim, Ireland.
Oh, she's Irish.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to our Irish listeners. I think we might have like one.
It's more than
0.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
So her family moved to the U.S. when she was young. Again, it ranges. She was either 3 or 8 when she came to the U.S.
How do people not know? Doesn't she have a gravestone somewhere? They're just like, born, question mark? I don't know.
They just put the year.
Yeah. They put both. They're like,
They're
one of
both.
these. Age, whatever, or whatever.
I just wanted to warn you right now that her story is wild and sketch.
Okay. Is it graphic?
No.
Oh,
Well,
that's
maybe
a
a little
surprise from
towards-
you, Brandy.
A little towards the end, but I don't get into details about it.
You're like, it's not graphic. So they slit their throat. I'm like, Jesus. Also, I noticed that she changed her name as well.
Mm-hmm.
Motherfuckers always changing their names.
Yeah, it was easy back then.
Dude, wild.
Okay, so in 1877, she married her first husband, Charles Hopkins, who was also known as Ketspel Brown. I don't know why that was it. That was included in every article that he also went by that name.
It was Ketspel Brown?
Yes, I was so confused. I was like, is
Did
that
he
name?
shit in a pool?
I was like, is that name supposed to mean something? I don't know, but
You don't know Ketspel Brown?
no, I don't.
Oh, boy, do you sound stupid right now. Wait, this was in
Wait, are you serious?
No, I don't know what that is.
Oh, It's like, wait, are you serious?
I have no idea. You said she got married in 77?
Yeah, 1877.
I don't think she was born in 64 then, otherwise she got married at 13.
Oh, you're right. Then it was probably 1859 that she was born. She would be like
We just solved this cold
20?
case. I mean, still like 17.
25.
No, 18. Wait, what
I don't know how
math
to
is
do
this?
math.
You guys, we were trying to do math before the show started, and it also was not working.
I
so.
can't do math, and I can't English.
I'm especially
and I
bad at
can't do
years for math.
science.
When I'm bad at everything, every aspect of life.
I'm actually good at math on paper, but in my head, I can't no.
No, especially years.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when there's a 9, and I'm like 9,
Yeah,
and then it's like
nine's
a
fucked
7,
up.
and I'm like, oh my god. Back to your story, Brandy.
Anyways, it is said that they had a son together, but that he ended up being institutionalized. But for reasons we don't know.
Oh, as a child too, it seems like?
Yeah.
Dang, this boy's probably fucked. He got it from his mama.
Basically. So, Charles had died. No. Yes, I mean he did, but...
Call him by his nickname. Who's Charles?
Ketspel
Brown.
Ketspel Brown.
Weird as shit.
He died 2 years later in 1879, and shortly after, she married a man named Artemis Brewer, who was a veteran and a pensioner? I don't know what that means. I forgot to look it up.
Sounds like something official. Also, don't say anything, but she killed her husband. Don't confirm nor deny, just keep talking. Who dies 2 years after they get married? Well, the 1800s. There's actually diseases and shit.
Yeah. He also died less than a year later.
Okay. We have a black widow in our midst.
She then got married for a third time to a man named Hiram Parkinson, but he left her and they divorced less than a year into the marriage.
I was so excited for that. He died. That sounded fucked up.
Some time passed and she went on to marry a fourth time to a man named George Smith, who was also a war veteran and had actually served with her second husband, Artemis Brewer.
Really?
So they knew each other.
They actually knew each other?
Yeah, they served
Whoa.
together.
He was so weird that he died, huh?
Yeah, and then they got close. And I think you can guess what happened next.
He died. So that's 3 husbands now.
Yeah. So, well, actually, he didn't die. But she tried
God
to.
Damn it, Brandy.
She tried to. She
Brandy's
actually
trying to make me look stupid.
She actually tried to murder him by poisoning his tea with arsenic. But she failed, so she fled to Bellow Falls, Vermont.
Did he even realize that she tried to murder him?
Yeah, that's why she left.
Oh, okay, because I was thinking how funny it'd be. It just, like, casually fails. He gets sick, and she's like, I must flee. Did he know?
No, he did. And in Vermont, she married a man named Charles Plaisdell.
Oh, Charles. You did.
That was husband number 5.
What year was this?
Oh, I don't know the year.
Oh, okay.
That's the thing we were talking about. Like, it's hard to find.
Oh, yeah.
Because it doesn't really give me a timeline, like the exact dates
I
and
was
stuff.
gonna say she's probably still like in her fucking 20s.
No, she probably is.
Oh my god.
Because they happened like back to back almost.
Yep.
She like was married for like a year,
dead,
another year,
dead,
and then 2 years,
divorced.
and then, yeah, basically
attempted dead.
So she married this guy named Charles Plaisdell, husband number 5.
Yeah.
But then 2 weeks after their wedding, she disappeared.
Oh.
Yeah, it was weird. Well, I guess like there was nothing on her during this time.
What do you mean nothing on her?
Like,
like no reports of her.
Yeah, no reports of her.
Okay.
And then in 1888, she reappeared in Philadelphia, going by the name Maggie Hopkins.
God, they all just changed their names like it's nothing.
Yeah, it really is nothing. So she began working at a saloon owned by the McQuillans, which was a family she knew from Ireland.
This is very Irish.
Yeah, I guess they were her neighbors back when she lived in Ireland. So she eventually let me back up a little. They actually took her in and like helped her out, and
that's nice.
They helped her like set up her own shop.
What'd she sell?
I don't know. What was a saloon?
Arsenic.
But she set up her own saloon and everything, but she was arrested for burning it down for insurance money, like for fraud.
She would really get along with H.H. Holmes, wouldn't she?
Bro, yeah, it's crazy. Watch, you'll see. You're gonna be like, what the fuck?
Also, insurance fraud was so easy back then.
I guess you just light your own place on fire and go claim.
You're like, caught fire.
Accident.
I think the only reason H.H. Holmes seems suspicious is he had claims with like 4 different insurance companies.
So she ended up being found guilty and spent 2 years in Pennsylvania's Eastern State Penitentiary.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so she actually spent some time in jail.
Okay.
Just like
didn't get away with it.
Not with that one, no.
Oh no. These motherfuckers and their insurance fraud.
So in 1890, shortly after she was released, she started going by the name Lizzie Brown.
God damn it.
And worked as a housekeeper for a man named Paul Halliday.
We don't even know if that's really his real name.
Or Halliday, my bad.
Halliday.
Halliday. Paul was a twice widowed 70-year-old farmer. Bro, she was like...
What, like...
way younger. I don't know how old.
We just said we're dumb and can't do math, you guys.
Let me bust down my calculator.
Right. Here, I got you.
Actually, though.
I'll grab my computer. Speedier. What year did she meet him?
1890.
1890 minus 1859?
Yeah.
1859. She was 31.
Oh, fuck.
For some reason, I thought it was going to be 50, so that goes to tell you how bad I am at math.
I mean, I didn't really try. But he was living in Burlingame, New York, with his 2 sons.
Like the Coke factory.
Oh, you're right.
No, that's Burlington. Oh my god. I'm a moron.
Yeah, I just agreed because I didn't remember.
I know, and I'm like, thank you, Brandy. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Burlingame.
Birmingham Coat Factory.
No, it's Burlingame. It's still close. Burlingame.
Slightly close.
10 in ham.
You know what? Just keep talking. It's fine. Okay. You don't have to pretend that I made sense there.
So they eventually married, and their marriage was described by Paul as a nightmare because of Lizzie's sporadic spells of insanity.
Same.
It also came out later that neighbors said that the marriage was just his way of avoiding having to pay her, because she was his housekeeper.
Oh.
I guess he married her so he wouldn't have to pay her.
That's weird.
Well, that's just what neighbors said, so we don't actually know.
That was the gossip around town.
Yeah. So she actually did not get along with his sons and was known for behaving violently and erratically. But Paul often found excuses for her behavior.
Of course.
Enabler.
What a piece of shit.
Well,
he's just as bad as her.
So about 2 years later, she ended up running away with a neighbor.
She's like, it's been 2 years.
Yeah, basically. That's how, what was I gonna say?
That's her MO.
Like, that's how long she could last.
Yeah, she's like, fuck, I'm bored.
But yeah, she ran away with the neighbor because they were gonna elope.
Of course.
And they stole a team of horses. Did you know that? A team.
A team of horses?
Yeah, that's what it...
I guess that's... a horse gang?
I guess that's the term, though. Like, when it's more than one horse. I didn't know that.
Well, hopefully they weren't in Texas, otherwise this is a capital crime.
They were nuts. But they fled successfully and sold the horses, but her lover ended up deserting her, and she got caught.
Dude, so much drama in her life.
Oh, yeah.
Abandonment from both sides over and over.
Yeah.
Death.
She was arrested, but ended up being acquitted of the crime on the grounds of insanity.
On the horse thievery crime?
Yeah.
That's fucking hilarious.
Shortly after returning home, she ended up burning Paul's house, barn, and nearby mill.
Oh. It's like, you left him.
Basically. But that actually killed one of his sons in the process.
Oh, shit.
Worst part was that his name was Ron, and he was actually disabled, so he had, like, no chance.
Fuck.
But, I mean, they obviously suspected her because, like...
This was crazy.
One, she's crazy. She has history of arson.
Yeah.
And two, they know she didn't like her stepson.
Oh, my God. How old is he?
I don't know.
Okay. Probably older, actually.
Yeah, he wasn't like a little kid, but he was older. But
still, oof. Was he like, I don't know if you know, was he like physically disabled? Like he couldn't, like in a wheelchair maybe?
I think so. Well, because some sources said different things. Some said he was just mentally handicapped, and then other sources said like he was actually like disabled.
Regardless,
so it might have been both.
Yeah. And back then, I'm sure that homes were not very accessible to leave if there was a fire.
Yeah. So she was arrested and sent to an asylum. And she was eventually declared cured and released back into the care of Paul. Yeah. I don't know why I like ended it so roughly. Just because I kind of...
I did that like 3 times when I was talking earlier.
I like reworded it as I was reading.
That's what I did.
And then I was like...
Or I forget to pause for emphasis. And I'm like, wait.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be shocked.
I'm back into... that one over. Yeah. So she was arrested and was sent to an asylum.
With her son.
With her son?
I just forgot her son was in a mental asylum, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's not the same one, though.
That'd be kind of funny.
So she was eventually declared cured and was released back into Paul's care.
He was like, please, God, no.
I mean, he accepted her.
God, this motherfucker.
So that happened in May 1893, and by August of that year, shortly after she was released, Paul Halliday had disappeared.
Oh my God, he probably just left town, no big deal.
Yeah, that's exactly what she said.
Oh God.
She claimed that he moved to a nearby town to do some masonry work.
Okay, isn't he like 75?
By this time, yeah.
I guess this guy must have been like yoked, because he was... keeping it up.
He was swole.
Yeah, he was swole as shit.
And obviously his neighbors were like, sketch. So they didn't believe her.
Did they do anything about it, or they just privately? Okay.
No, they did. So they were like super sketch, and they were able to like convince the police to get a search warrant.
Oh shit.
For the residence, which they did. And you'll never guess what they found.
His body.
Yeah, I guess you can guess.
Well, yeah. Context clues here.
But you ain't ready for this.
Okay.
So on September 4th, 1893, they discovered the bodies of 2 women.
Well, where do they come from?
Who were later identified as Margaret and Sarah McQuinlan.
Is that the neighbor from beforehand?
Names sound familiar?
It does sound familiar.
It should. They were the members of the family she knew from Ireland that had helped her.
What? Why did she kill them?
I have no idea. But one of them was the wife of the guy that actually, like, took her in.
Okay. So
and then
basically
the other
her fake mom for a few years.
Basically. I'm like, it's all sketch.
That's so weird.
They had both been bound and shot.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, and they were also found in the barn under, like, haystacks.
How long were they there?
I don't know.
Oh, she was hiding them though. She was planning on keeping them there for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, hell no.
She was then apprehended right away, but would not cooperate at all and behaved erratically. Like, she was literally tearing out her clothes and talking incoherently.
Oh, God.
Many believe that she was faking it, though. Like, none of the police
I was going to
officers...
say, try to get that insanity plea deal.
Yeah. Basically, all the officers was like, didn't believe her. They were like, whatever. So, a few days after the discovery of the two McQuinlan women, they found Paul under the floorboards of the home.
Wait, how long after?
A few days.
How did they not just find him immediately? They just found the bodies and they're like, let's go home for the day, guys. We worked hard enough.
I mean, they worked day by day.
Yeah, fucking apparently.
He had been mutilated, bound, and shot also.
Oh.
So she was then charged with triple homicide.
Okay, I know we were making a graphic, but mutilated how?
It didn't specify.
Well, I feel like a sicko for asking and not getting answers.
Mutilated somehow.
Probably cut up or something.
Yeah. Ugh. And then after they arrested her and charged her, they started to wonder about her previous boyfriends. And they actually talked to the press about it. They were like, it's unclear whether her husband's died of natural causes or
her 5 dead husbands.
Yeah.
If you've been married to this woman, please come forward.
It was later revealed by her other stepson Robert that she had told him she killed her husband in Ireland and got away with it. She basically confessed to him.
What an idiot.
So her time in jail was she was just crazy. I'm gonna read this word for word that I found.
Okay.
For a long time after her arrival, it was let me clarify, it was a worker that was how do you call him?
Who was? Wait.
Like a jail worker?
Like a guard?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
That sounds...
There we go.
A prison guard, jail
prison
guard.
Worker.
Prison worker. It was pretty much his interview or whatever. He told it.
Okay, cool.
God, I'm bad with words.
It's okay. You're winging it. You're not reading your notes right now. You're like, oh.
I know, okay. So for a long time after her arrival, she refused to eat, and it became necessary for the jail physician to force liquid food through her nostrils.
Ew, through the nostrils. Must burn.
Dude. That sounds fake.
Why not through the mouth? That's stupid. I guess you get gagged or something.
In November, she tried to strangle the sheriff's wife. A few days later, she set fire to her bedclothes. In December, she tried to hang herself with the binding torn from the bottom of her dress.
Wait, all this happened in prison?
This happened in within the span of 3 months, I think.
And all these supplies were in prison? She was just walking around in prison wearing a dress, greeting the sheriff's wife.
I'm pretty sure it was one of those nightgowns, you know what I mean?
Also, it's the 1800s, so they could have been women aren't scary, you do whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly. And on December 15th, she came near ending her life by gashing her throat and arms in a terrible manner with a glass broken from her cell window.
Ew.
For the last 3 months, it has been necessary to keep her chained to the floor.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And they still weren't calling her crazy. Mm-hmm. She wanted to be so bad.
And also in a different article I read that after she cut herself, she said, I thought I would cut myself to see if I would bleed. It's oh shit, bro. What do you think happens?
This motherfucker's... It's dude, you've killed people. Clearly you'll bleed.
So in 1894, she was convicted of the murders and was the first woman in U.S. history to be sentenced to death by electrocution.
Good for her.
To the electric chair.
She really broke the glass ceiling on that.
Yeah. However, the governor at the time, Roswell P. Flower, lessened her sentence per reason of insanity.
Oh, yeah.
And he sent her to the Matt Owain State Hospital for the Criminically...
Criminically? I think we just ran our episode name. Criminically sane. Wait.
Criminally insane.
Criminally insane. That's what I said.
Oh my god.
Episode name right there, future Michelle.
Done. That's not even a word, is it?
I mean, none of the words you say are words.
Criminal.
Burglarly. That was my favorite. Oh, and Apocalypse.
Apocalypse.
You really do, like, come up with the best episode names when you make up these words. I'm like, this is perfect.
The sad part is I don't even try.
I know.
I just fuck shit up.
It's great. It should be a word.
So, during her time in this hospital, I'm not gonna say the whole name. This place. She actually tried to escape many times and attacked many prison workers.
This motherfucker, dude.
Dude, she's crazy. And it was actually in there where she murdered her last victim.
She murdered someone in there?
Mm-hmm.
What was it?
A nurse named Nilly Wicks by stabbing her with a pair of scissors over 200 times.
200 times and nobody was like, hey, stop.
I mean, yeah, but it was probably late. And this was like after she had been in there for 12 years.
Oh, so they probably weren't as nervous around her.
Maybe.
Who was laying her around scissors?
For real, like where'd she get them? Like what happened?
Stabbing somebody 200 times, that takes time. No one could come like grab her, sedate her. No, they're like, just let her do it, it's fine. She's having fun.
So she was only convicted for the 3 murders, but we know for sure she did 4. Well, technically 5, because we know she killed the stepson.
Oh, yes.
But there's like so many other like suspected victims.
Really?
Yeah.
Just like random people in her life?
Yeah,
or?
like husbands and just people she came across with.
Whoa.
They actually... I'll get there.
Yeah.
She actually gained national attention with many articles written about her in tabloid newspapers. And they were just like hella hyping her up or like talking about how bad she was.
She was like, hell yeah, I'm bad. The most hated woman.
She was actually linked to the London murders by the sheriff at the time, Harrison Beecher, who was issued a statement to the press. Did I say who was issued?
I don't know what you said. That pause, I thought it was the second sentence. And then you kept going, and I was like, oh my god.
Anyways, he issued a statement to the press indicating that recent investigations show Mrs. Halliday, god damn it.
We never settled on a name for
Mrs. Halliday, in all probability, connected to the famous Whitechapel murders, which happened in London, because she did move around a lot. She, like, HH.
Yeah.
HH. She was, like, in Vermont and Philadelphia and New York, and then also, like, in Ireland and London, so she was, like, all over.
Oh, shit.
But that's the thing that I hated, is I couldn't, like, find specifically
like why
where she
and where
was, like, the timeline, yeah.
Yes. I literally searched timeline and could not find a timeline.
Yeah, me either. But I guess that was, like, a really bad, like, murder that happened.
I read something about Whitechapel. I didn't read more in detail, but whenever you said Whitechapel, I was like, what?
I know, I kind of... Wait for this.
Okay.
They even went as far to say that she might have done some of the Jack the Ripper murders.
No fucking way.
Yeah, bro. I was like, what?
Whoa, we just did a crossover, you guys.
And then also, like, how this sheriff, like, accused her of possibly being connected to the Whitechapel murders. I guess they, like, straight up asked her. Mm-hmm. And she was like, do I look like an elephant? Like,
I don't know how to answer that.
Like, they straight up asked her, like, are you in any way connected, or did you commit these murders? And she straight up was like, do I look like an elephant? That was obviously done by a man. That's literally what she said. And I'm like,
I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I was scared, but I was like, what the fuck?
Oh my gosh.
I was so shook.
Oh, we're talking about Jack the Ripper soon now.
Yeah,
now we got multiple suspects going.
We'll talk about the Whitechapel murders.
Yes. Oh my god. That might be our next true crime one, you guys. Alright, thank you guys for listening. I can't believe they were both connected to Jack the Ripper.
Bro,
that's so
cool.
Shook. I was not expecting that. I'm glad you didn't spoil it, because I was very shocked.
And then again, too, I feel like they just try to connect anybody to Jack the Ripper.
Every murderer back then, they were like, Jack the Ripper.
It's like, oh my god, they probably, like, committed those crimes.
Literally. But your person is actually more likely, because she was, like, around there, and she mutilated her husband's body.
That's true.
And some of his victims were mutilated. Were her victims.
Ooh.
I'm just saying. I think all of his victims, except for, like, one, were found outside, so maybe she did the one who was found inside.
Damn, copycat.
We talked about
maybe they slept together and they were on a crime spree.
There was some weird murder polygamy thing going on. They're all dating each other. I don't know.
They all banging.
Literally. And then killing their spouses or whatever. Alright. Talk to you guys next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Hey guys, it's us from the future. AKA 20 minutes after we stopped recording when we decided we should rebrand and change our name.
Hell yeah.
So we are now just Spooky Shit.
Or the Spooky Shit.
Or the Spooky Shit. Our Instagram and Twitter are finally the fucking same, you guys. They're spooky shit _pod. We're gonna put spooky _ but then it just said shit pod, so let's not do that. And we were forced to use pod because Twitter said podcast was too long. Updated website name coming at you eventually because Robert actually paid like $70 to get our domain name.
My God.
I actually owe him a lot of money.
For the hosting, not for the domain.
Oh, for the hosting. Okay.
Damn.
I owe Robert money, but that's our new information.
But that's relevant.
That's not relevant to this. Okay, good thanks. Bye.
Good thanks.
Goodbye. Hey guys, it's Michelle.
I'm Brandy.
And this...
I'm sorry, I was waiting for Leah.